Yeah,
we'll do the thing. So
looks like it's going.
that way there's a nice graphic at the beginning of the video, so it looks legit in case somebody comes in and watches this later or gets the information right. It's like, hey, this is the right thing you're looking for on the internet, which can be scary if you get the wrong thing. So with that in mind, just like we do all the time, I'm calling it to order. We're going to do some introductions, but prior to that, we have a special guest that is going to be talking about their resident company here at the VSGI, and we scheduled them early because they have something they need to get to. So we're going to do that first and foremost. Then we'll kind of go around the horn and do introductions. You know, most people will probably recognize most people. We'll see if anybody's new. We can go do that really quick, and then we'll go through and we'll do the news and updates about what we're doing at various departments, including computer game design, SGI, Mason Game and Technology Academy, blah blah blah. And then we'll just open it up and see if there's things going on that we missed, things that are coming up that you guys want to talk about, and then just kind of hit on it from there. So with that in mind, given the timing, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to actually introduce Craig. He is a fine faculty member over from computer science. He's got a resident company, Great Victory Legends, and it's all yours. Tell us about you and tell us about your great company and what you do. And as people get on, that they'll see it and we'll record it for them in prosperity anyway. So tell us
Yeah,
about Great Victory Legends and what it means, and it's your show.
sure. So this is Craig here from Computer Science. Thank you for the introduction. Just to introduce myself a little bit, I am an associate professor, and I am working on virtual reality, computer graphics, computer vision, human-computer interaction stuff. That's my academic research. And I started this company, Great Victory Legends, about 2 years ago. And today I'm going to talk about some stuff that we are working on. So I am the CEO of the company, and CTO of the company is Quincy Huang, and he's actually a postdoc in our group. So he joined our group and formed the company because he is super experienced in the game industry, and he is helping to try to push some of the technologies that we develop to the market. And we also hired many interns. You may recognize some of these faces because lots of these students, they are actually in the game design program. So we have Ethan Jordan, who graduated from the game design program last spring, but he still works with us on a part-time basis because he has been developing the game that we are working on right now, and he still want to help. And we have Ben and Nutwin. They are game design students. They are in their senior years. Pedro is also a game design student. And we also have Jacob from computer engineering. And we have Irfan Ali, who is our mentor in the ICAP program, and he is also on our advisory board. So our company mission is to create AI-driven tools to help envision the future of the extended reality. And there are three major directions we are working on. So we are working on VR/AR solutions and consulting, and we have Pepsi as our strategic partner. And we also have our own in-house VR/AR game development. We are working on a game called Car Fight. And we particularly want to focus on networked multi-user VR experience because we have an edge in this area because we have some experience working on this, and it's not the easiest product to develop, I would say. But yeah, that would be our competitive advantage. And we also have been developing some AI-driven and VR/AR development tools, like a VR QA testing tool that we are developing. And we also have a optimization plugin called the MCMC framework. So let me give you more detail. So the VR/AR solutions consulting, we get some vendor projects. And one major project we're working on is a VR simulation project that Pepsi partnered with us to develop. Because of the NDA, I can't tell you the details of the project, but this is like going on recently. And the next thing is our own VR, AR in-house game development. And as I said, we focus on multi-user VR, network VR game. So like this is a prototype that we created. It was called a Water Wall. We developed this, and I played this with Quincy on this through the network VR. But we dropped the prototype because we find out soon after that it was too much motion sickness to ride a boat in virtual reality, because of the wave, like it's kind of like you have motion sickness when you are on a real ship, right, out in the sea. So we dropped this, but then we quickly migrate to another prototype that we are developing. It's called the Car Fight, and we released this game last December. Not so it's 2022, not coming December. So we released it last December. It has been around 10 months, and we already have about 5,000 downloads. And we released it for free because we just want to test the water. And the feedback was pretty good. We got 4.5 rating on the Oculus App Lab. And we still see people downloading this and trying this every week. Like people can download it, like you can download it, I can download it, and then we can connect to each other and fight in this arena through the network in virtual reality. So it's pretty fun. And this is the QA testing tool I talked about. So this is one direction of our company, which is to develop some AI-driven tool to help VR developers creating their product. So especially we've observed that there is not much tool out there in the markets that can help with the QA testing of VR applications. Like this tool that we create will be able to record all the motion, like the motion data in the VR game session, all the variables, the states of all variables in the game, so that after the recording, the developer can replay what the user has gone through. So not just replaying the video, the developer can also look into all the variables, all the buttons pressed, all the events that had happened, in order to find out, what may have gone wrong or what may have caused some bugs in the program. So we are developing this stuff, and we have a very early prototype that we will release on the App Store in about 2 weeks or so. So we already submitted the project to the Unity Game Access Store, and it is under review. So like I said, so there's not much QA testing tool out there for VR applications, and we hope we can contribute to this effort. And at the same time, we will want to apply for some funding, like through the SBIR program, and see if we can get more funding support to scale up our development. So we have also gone through lots of training this year and last year. So it started from last year. We joined the Virginia ICAP program to learn about the lean startup model, customer interviews, this kind of thing. So we interview about 20 people to learn about the experience. And actually, I talked to many of you guys because of this training program. I talked to Sam, I talked to Jacob and James, and learn about lots of useful experience from you guys who are experienced in the game industry. And this summer, our team also joined the NSF ICOPS training. So that's a national one. And that's a very intensive training program. So basically, that's how we spent the whole summer. I conducted more than 100 interviews with people in the game industry and also in the VR industry. So we talked to people, developing VR games, VR education experience, defense training program, people from all different places, because we want to learn about how they test their VR programs, and we use that knowledge as the basis for developing our QA testing tool, like I show here. And we also went through training by the Virginia Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, because we also got a funding from them to help develop the QA testing tool and some algorithms that can run on the tool. So we just finished our presentation last week, presenting to the board of potential investors from Virginia. So this is an overview of our company, and our mission is to create a XR of the future, and we are creating tools to help other developers and designers to realize this vision together. And you can check out our latest tools and development on our website. And thank you very much for the support of the VSGI. So in the summer, we have meeting every week in the conference room of the VSGI. And so now, because of the semester going on and our employees are mostly interns, so we come back less often than in the summer. But sometimes I also come back with my CTO, so as to discuss the company directions. And we envision we will use the space even more. Like now we have the tool and the prototype that has been developed. So I think it would be wonderful if we use the space and come together, have some cohort to do some play testing of our games and our tools. So I envision we will use the space more and more as we go to this stage. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. If anybody has any questions for Craig, you feel free to ask them now. Just chime in or ask him in chat. His email is on there. It's just gregu@greatvictorylegends.com. I believe it's the same for the GMU one. It's just gregu@gmu.edu. So if there are things that you potentially see connections with what you're doing or things that other people are doing, they're a great resident company taking on a lot of different projects, but looking for more and more things to do. So
sure.
Excellent. All right. Well,
Thank
you
you
very much. All right. Thank you. If you want to go ahead and, yeah, perfect. I will reshare our screen. All right. So I see the majority of the people we have that are currently in here are folks that we've had in the past. So most of you know each other, but in case we're watching this later or somebody else doing it, what we're going to do is do a quick round of who is who. I'm just going to go down the list in order so that we don't, it's too hard to remember otherwise. So I'm going to go down my list. I'm going to just call people out, you can say who you are, what you do, where you're from. And we'll go from there. Obviously, I'm James Casey, the co-director of the VSGI and professor in the game design program. Riza.
Hi, everyone. Riza Villacorte, administrative assistant for the VSGI. Thanks for joining us.
And we just heard from Craig, so we all know who Craig is. Bob Bates, tell us about yourself real quick.
Hi there. Long-time working game designer, 37 years now. Independent consultant to many different companies, past chair of the International Game Developers Association, and that's it.
That's it. 37 years and all that crazy stuff. That's it. All right, Sang.
Hi, my name is Sang Nam. I'm the director of computer game design program.
Excellent. And then we got people. All right, Drew, I know you're holding the baby and stuff like that. I don't know if you want to jump on.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Thank you. I'm Drew Crowder. I am the head of the Hashtag Companies. We have a large facility in Herndon where we do a bunch of stuff relating to games and game design.
Excellent. And I think we even have a slide later that's going to talk about something coming up from you guys too. So excellent.
That's very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. Josh.
Hey, my name is Josh Emsweller, and I'm the operations manager for the Mason Game and Technology Academy.
Excellent. Let's see, Eric Piccione.
Hello there. I am Eric Piccione, and I'm the associate director of the game design program.
Excellent. Jacob.
I'm Jacob Enfield, and I teach in the computer game design program and also have an office over at the VSGI where I do my research and run some research projects with folks. Exciting.
Awesome. Mary, I see you're on here. You want to tell us who you are?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mary Bean, and I am the academic program and office manager for computer game design.
Excellent. Ravi.
Oh, hello, everyone. Ravi Garimella, technical director at C Square Technologies. We Dolly O'Brien, our CEO, is actually sitting on the board of visitors at GMU. And we actually are again presenting next week at the CLO program, showcasing some of our AR/VR solutions. So excited about that. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Awesome. Very, very cool. Where do we move in the list? We already hit Sang. So Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kane. I'm the research coordinator for the VSGI, and I also teach in the program as well.
And last but not least, Susan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Graziano. I'm the Director of Development for the College of Visual and Performing Arts.
And, you know, for people who are watching this later, if there's people on here that you want to talk to, you can get the information from us. We can get people connected, things like that. So lots of cool people on, as well as on the board in general. So with that in mind, we already did the Great Victory Legends Fest of Fun there. So we're going to shift forward. We're going to let Sang talk a little bit about what computer game design has been doing, and I will try to keep up with the changing of the slides as he goes through. All right, Sang, it's your turn.
Right, thank you very much. And yeah, these are computer game design program update. So for 2023 enrollment, if you haven't heard about it, Mason enrollment reaches 40,000 students. This is now we are now the biggest. I mean, we were the biggest the public state university in Virginia, but now we just reached 40,000 students. And for the computer game design program, we reached 445 undergraduate students. Also, this is a record for us. So we got pretty big, and we are still one of the fastest growing program at Mason. And for graduate program, we are sort of closing our master's program. So we have 2 master's students, but they will graduate soon. And then currently, we are working on the creating a PhD program in serious game. So we submitted a chef proposal, and hopefully we can start offering a PhD program in the year of 2024. Next slide. These are what we've been doing. Last summer, Arch at Mason board organized this Jazz Brunch Sunday event at the Mason exhibitions at Arlington. So myself and James participated, and we promoted our program. So obviously, our board members sometimes are not familiar with our program, so we promoted our program at VSGI and all the great things we have been doing. And feedback was very positive, and then many people mentioned someone they know, oh, I should have picked up this promotional material and share it with my nephew or someone I know, because I didn't know we have such a program. So we are still kind of new in the field, but obviously we've been promoting like what we can do, like positive things we can do using game. The next slide. And other summer updates, we participated Aspiring Scientist Summer Internship Program, which were hosted by College of Science. And Professor James Casey and Professor Stephanie Kane and myself, we participated, and then we mentored 3 different high school teams, and then we had successful poster presentation event. So James Casey and Stephanie Kane postered yeah, and they did something about digital they did something about like
Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, DTX on Alzheimer's disease, and my team did like kind of something similar, but we're focusing on the AI to combat addictive disorders, and then another team did the research about like game accessibility. Okay, next slide. And we had like new student welcome ice cream social. This has been our kind of tradition for welcoming new incoming students. So we had this ice cream social Friday, August 28th at Art Hub Corner Pocket. As you can see, our academic advisor, Jeremy Tuhi, did the trivia quiz, and then people enjoyed. And then this time we also had some scavenger hunt. So if they answer all these questions, they can claim the computer game design program's t-shirts. The next slide. And so we still have strong international collaborative project, and we are currently offering game design certificate program at HCT, Higher Colleges of Technology in UAE. So HCT is one of the biggest colleges in UAE. They have 18 campuses throughout UAE. And this was possible by collaborating with Company E, which is a DC-based nonprofit organization. So we are funded by the U.S. Embassy Abu Dhabi, and we're teaching like online courses to HCCT so that they can have some capacity building in game design and development. Next slide. And also we had international collaboration with Seoul Digitech High School. So Seoul Digitech High School is one of few high school that offers game design and AI and machine learning like major. So this is kind of special like high school, like kind of vocational type high school, and they offer game design and AI machine learning programming and early on. So they visit us, the GMU and VSGI on August 31st, and then they visit with George Mason statue, and then I actually gave them like a little like motivational talk and in our facility. The next slide. And Arch by George, this is one of the biggest the donor event that we like our College of Visual and Performing Arts host. And last Saturday on September 30th, we had Arch by George, and then we had our space at the Mix VR media room. As you can see, it's kind of small, but we have VR media room, and then like we presented capstone games, and then VR project, AR project, and interesting project we've been doing at VSGI and game design. So as you can see, on the laptop, you can see this Dean Davis, Dean of College of Visual and Performing Arts, and he's wearing Microsoft HoloLens 2. We've been doing this like augmented reality project with Innova Trauma Education Center. So we are developing a prototype app to teach physicians about how to respond to traumatic situations. So Dean Davis now is actually kind of posing as a physician to respond to traumatic situation with the virtual patient and nurse and EMS driver. And on the right top, our very own Professor James Casey is kind of helping people trying our VR project. Particularly, the person is trying the VR crime scene house we developed in the virtual with forensic science department. So people were really enjoying it. Especially we had some kids, and it was amazing to see the kids reacting to those virtual reality game, because sometimes, I mean, like they do crazy things, and then obviously they don't see us, so they do crazy things, and then their parents are really happy to see those kids actively engaging in those games. Okay, next slide.
And one thing I'll add to is a lot of people that were there that were visiting, once they saw some of these, they saw how these technologies would actually be used in other areas, whether it's psychology or different health fields, et cetera. And it just made those connections so much more real, actually seeing something that they could play with and work with. So it was kind of nice.
Yeah, well, actually, that's true because sometimes people think, yeah, this game design program make game. But then again, we presented a lot of applied research project we did. So in fact, Arch at Mason board meeting, they requested us to present some of applied research project we're doing at the next board meeting. And the next is we also presented this 2023 Progress at Play exhibition. This is a competition hosted by Mason Korea along with NC Soft and other game companies in Korea. So we basically promoted the winners, the artworks by winners of this competition, and obviously we try to promote what game can do, especially in this case, how games can bring some positive impact on social changes. So some of images, this is like a newborn auction, newborn baby auction or something. And then as you can see, yes, people can be very expressive using digital art or game to remind us about this, like the impact on social justice and social issues. And next. And then we will work with hashtag company on hashtag Con Indie series. So on October 28th, we are going to participate in this hashtag Con Indie series. So we will bring alumni games companies and capstone games and some like faculty-led companies games. So we are going to actually showcase many indie games, many games produced by our students, our faculty, and our alumni. So we are confident that our capstone capstone games are potentially compete against other indie games, and then this would be great opportunity for our students and alumni to prove that. I'm very excited about this. Okay, that is it.
Excellent. All right, now we're going to shift over. We're going to go over some of the things that the VSGI does, from research and residencies and outreach and things like that. And so we'll go through those and hit those real quick. We're going to start with some resident company updates and just what the current resident companies are doing. So we already heard a little bit about Great Victory Legends, so we don't need to go into that too much. They did get featured in our George newsletter recently for some of the stuff they were doing in the iCore program and some of the VR stuff they're doing. But Craig did a much better job hitting all the stuff that they're up to than I could have done in a slide, so we'll keep going. Improve on Health is continuing to work on how their game integration is going into their medicine hardware that basically hands out the medication for folks with intellectual disabilities. So they've been adding not only gamification of taking the medicine itself, but games that go along with it to reward them. And again, try to set up these kind of almost subconscious, abstract ways for them to go, you know what, I'm keeping the pets happy by giving them their medication and having fun with them, and so by setting that kind of association up and making it more fun, they're more likely to take their medication and not need as much assistance from their counselors, etc. And so they've been doing some great work on adding a bunch of little mini games and gamification of the process in general. Scripted LLC is continuing to work on a lot of AI solutions that use what we call generative AI. So it's things that create pictures or music or worlds or text. And so they've got this kind of all-together solution they're working on that will essentially be able to create worlds for you. It's not just, you know, creating a asset or a character or, you know, text. It's putting it all together and building a world and building a backstory. And they're continuing to work on that, building contracts for different companies, working on getting grants with other researchers in our CS department. And in fact, they just got back from Bitcraft, which was an invitation-only venture capitalist event over in Portugal, I believe it was, where they do next generation world building with some folks. So they've got a lot of good stuff on the horizon. And if you're interested in the world of generative AI, Tim is somebody to talk to. He's the founder of Scripted LLC. Viva Vita is continuing to work on their kit with the new Pico 4 that's out and some of the new stuff that they want to do. They're working with us on how do we take the curated experience they already have and how do we add more to that. So we've been working with them about what to add and what potentially to put in. And last but not least, we have the Historical Movement Archive continuing to work on their digital portal to work between the different researchers as well as the archive for the various things. Right now, their focus has been on working with their constituents and potential grants and funding opportunities. So we're helping them to develop those materials that they can get more information out and hopefully get folks interested and supporting it so they can become a true research program. So next, we're going to talk about research and some of the stuff we have going on. So I'm going to ask that Jacob and or Stephanie talk a little bit about these as well as I can. Jacob, do you want to talk about the virtual crime scene one?
Sure. So the virtual crime scene is something that's been going on for over a year now. We work with a faculty member, police Steve, in the forensic science department, who they have a crime scene house in the real world, and they're looking at switching over to using a virtual crime scene house to appease the neighbors. And so they have been, we've been creating more and more features, being able to take pictures in virtual, basically process a crime scene using, spray to reveal fingerprints and, got cameras and little cards that you put down next to numbers and tape measures and guns that shoot, everything that you can imagine a crime scene. I don't know. So it's pretty good, revealing blood stains, and so our students are doing great on that project, and there's a lot of potential on where that project might go, but yeah, that's the
and the picture here is of one of our developers and the guy from Forensic, Steve. Steve gets really into it and loves the thing, and so he's down on the ground looking for stuff under the bed, I think it was at the time, because we had some bullets and other stuff under there. So he loves it. The next one I'll talk about briefly because we mentioned it earlier from Arts by George. These were two of the ones that we showed off there. And if you ever want to see them, we can always send you a build if you have VR or invite you to come out and try it out here. Obviously the iNova one's a little tougher because it's HoloLens 2 and not a lot of people have that. But this is kind of what Dean Davis and other folks were seeing is kind of this, the picture here is a little bit of a combination of a real trauma training room along with a virtual patient, a virtual nurse, some virtual equipment. And again, they're designed to work either in situations where this is not available and it just creates everything, or it can work in conjunction with materials already there. So if it recognizes a machine or the wall is where you would normally see, like, for example, the lung x-ray, it will automatically place that within the scene, knowing that that's where it should go within that training environment. So it's a very interesting and unique product, and we're continuing to work with them on how do we expand that out and get additional grants for that. Jacob, you want to hit a little bit on the kineology?
Sure. This is the project. You can see a virtual plank, a plank and a virtual plank. So there's a physical plank, but the research project with kinesiology is to gather data, and this might relate to Craig, you, if he's still with us, frame by frame motion data, where their feet are, where their waist is, to kind of analyze their gait in a stressful situation. And that stressful situation is when in the virtual world, they raise them up really far up in the world and have them walk back and forth across the plank, as opposed to when they're on the ground walking back and forth across the plank. And so, that's been going on for a while. And some of the new features our folks have been adding are like obstacles in the walkway, or gaps in the walkway that the participants have to step over. Some of the future things that might be coming soon are like a curved walkway, so they can get data on, how the gait changes when they're walking around. And I know some of the kind of long-term goals for the project are related to the elderly. That was the original focus, but then also maybe with prosthetics. So we might be adding, when you're in VR, you look down and you see your prosthetic leg, and helping people through kind of trauma therapy get used to being able to experience anxiety with their prosthetics and stuff like that. Yeah, we've just got some new VR equipment as well. So we're going to be able to do some of this stuff over at the VSGI instead of seeing the picture down there. That's at the Smart Lab, which is still at the Manassas campus, SciTech campus, but kind of more restrictive access. So with the VSGI setup, we'll have easier access to get work done.
Yep. And the picture on the top is not from their build. It's just it's a similar experience, but the same kind of idea is at some point they'll raise you in the air. And I think we have more of a forest serene scene. So it's still nature, but you'll still be in the air, and the stress is designed to change the way people potentially move around. And then we can monitor and, as I said, assess that. Next two are also yours, Jacob.
All right, yeah. So the top one, the top picture goes with the top text. That's for the murder mystery game that we're just kind of starting to design out. It is a collaboration with a faculty member from VMI, Virginia Military Institute. And that faculty member teaches a course on database and SQL. That's the language that you use to access databases. And so an interesting activity that he's done with his students in class is to have them kind of be given this murder mystery where they're given clues, and then they have to query the database to try to narrow down their find out who done it. So as an example, they might know that the person or the culprit was wearing glasses, so they can query the database to look at only the suspects that have glasses, and then with enough of those they can narrow it down. That's just an example for like our level 1, and right now the 2 students we hired, which are students in the engineering department, grad students, master students, they are working on the overarching narrative and the kind of design. So we haven't started coding the game yet, but those students we hired are ready to rock and roll on that. With Side Guardian, this is again a collaboration with the same faculty member, Sharif from VMI, and then some other faculty members that I know Fair just moved to another institution, and Trayvon's at Virginia Tech. And so we got this. These are both from 4VA. The first one's a 4VA grant. The second one's the CCI grant. And in the second one, in Side Guardian, we're creating a chatbot for including cybersecurity. Sorry for the noise behind me. My son is watching TV. And that is still very much in the ideation phase, but it was a pretty intensive summer for Sharif, because just like Craig, they were going through the CCI training that was really intensive. And I went to a couple of them at the beginning and the end, but can't take credit for most of that. So we have we will be hiring for that program, a couple of students to work on that project as well next semester.
Excellent. Stephanie, you want to talk a little bit about this? I know we mentioned it really briefly at the beginning, that we see some pictures here from it, but anything you want to add on this one?
Yeah, sure. So as it was already said, we hosted a team of students at the VSGI. Sang also hosted 2 teams for Mason Korea and the computer game design program. Our students went ahead and did a project on using serious games with spatial navigation to screen for and assist patients with Alzheimer's disease. Apparently, spatial navigation can and measuring those can help screen for Alzheimer's and memory issues. So that was really cool.
Yeah, some of the research they had used or as reference was that's like taxi drivers and other people that use spatial navigation a lot in their life tend to be less often getting dementia or Alzheimer's disease or those types of things because something is building and constantly reinforcing, I guess, those different neural pathways. And so they were looking at how do they take that and use that in serious games. Excellent, thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about outreach. Part of that is Mason Game and Technology Academy, but we have our own slides for that. So this is more just general outreach. We've been put a hold on speaker series at the moment, but if you have ideas for speakers or topics, we're trying to put together a new schedule. We'll probably do them a little more piecemeal and just announce each one as we kind of set them in stone. And that way, it's less about getting 5 per semester, but getting about quality people and getting a good time for everybody to show up. We have a few ideas percolating that we've been working on, but if you've got additional ones or additional contacts, it would make a great talk to both not only game design, but anybody at the university. We're looking for folks that really are doing innovations in game and technology to be on this series. Something we did as well is we went to several conferences. We went to the IM Tech conference, which is Immersive Technologies in Training and Education. It's the first time it's been done. It was put together with various different departments around GMU. And the goal was to bring together innovators in education, government, and business. So we saw a lot of different folks from each of these different areas. We helped sponsor and get the thing off the ground. And then I was the moderator for what we called our Innovation Slam, where I got to introduce folks that are doing great things, not only here at Mason in various different departments, but also within businesses in the area. So it was a really good conference. And also I helped with getting the M Education Alliance, who holds an annual symposium on STEM education with a focus on STEM education, regardless of the amount of resources available to a school. So low resource school, normal schools, high resource, it doesn't really matter. They want to make sure that everybody has the same level of access to the great information about STEM. And again, I helped them get that set up, get speakers, and then I gave my own talk about how to use digital serious games in the classroom, regardless of the amount of resources that were available. So again, ways to get what we do out there into the eyes of the public in different ways, because like Arts by George, getting people in front of the technologies and getting people to see what can be done often brings about, either something in the individual or connections that they have made, and that networking can really help us with potential. Stephanie, you want to talk about some of the stuff you've been doing on the outreach programs?
Sure. So one thing that I did was for the Boys and Girls Club, Kimberly Sparks is with the Human Rights Campaign, and she is participating in the mentoring program over at the Prince William Boys and Girls Club. And they asked me to host a session because her mentee was interested in games. And so I hosted a session for a group of the kids on different career paths and how to get into the industry and how to begin prepping for that career, if that's what you were looking for. And then we also did, I did, as well as 2 other professors in the computer game design program, Seth Hudson and Ted Prowett, did a panel for the GMU Patriot Hacks Hackathon, and that was talking about the game industry, future trends, advice about networking, and just a Q&A at the end with the audience. It was really lovely.
Excellent. And we're still working on how do we expand in VSGI and other locations, and obviously social media. So we'll skip over this. This is the same. All right. So Mason Game and Technology Academy. So Josh had and crew had a great summer, and lots of great classes, etc. But he's got some updates on where we are now and what we're doing in the future. So Josh, I'm going to let it go for you.
All right. Yeah, for this fall, we are continuing our partnership with the Prince William School System to hold 3 classes with their students, all basically being paid for with scholarship money from Prince William. We're doing about 20 students per class, so that's around 60-ish students, give or take. And we're also using that money to also have some of their interns from their schools to come and work with some of the lead teachers and myself, obviously, to help set up and teach the stuff, the subject matter. And we're also running a Envision class kind of as a little test thing. Envision's our national partner group that we work with over the summer, but this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that we are working with them in a time that's not summer. So we're holding a class in Fairfax. That's a day class on Saturdays. They only got about 10 to 12 students for that one, but they're hoping to expand it in future spring and falls in probably 2024 if it goes well. So, and then what's on the next slide? I actually don't remember what
I got
put.
it. There you go.
Awesome. Still working on the online courses. We are currently revamping Roblox, Unity. They're getting very big revamps. Roblox is being tweaked quite a bit, as well as Unity, to the point that they're almost going to just be different courses, but in a good way. But we are still trying to use a lot of the existing stuff, so we're not going back to square one. And we're still working on the brand new classes, which is the Intro to Modeling with Blender, cybersecurity class, and then a new one that was recently just concepted, which is a Minecraft 3D modeling class that I have a developer working on right now. And that one's looking pretty good so far. So I think we're hoping to have these at least testable by the end of the year. Fingers crossed on that. The only one that's potentially not going to make it to that point would probably be the Blender one at this point. But the rest of them we're hoping to have done in the next couple months, at least ready for testing. And I think that's really it for updates. Next year, we're going to run our spring classes, and then I'm going to start prepping for summer, probably in December, as early as humanly possible.
And
So,
I know, I think the last time we had this meeting, was probably before the summer classes. Do you remember? I know we had like roughly 25-ish classes over the summer of various sorts, both online, synchronous, in person, and lots of different stuff. I want to say it was like 400 something students total. Is that right?
Yep, I'm trying to look up the stats that I sent you because I wrote them down.
I know, I was doing the same.
They're not in front of me right now.
But it was a great summer, and basically
So yeah, we had, for the Envision side, we had 6 virtual classes, 10 on-site ones, total of about 387 students. We had our Westminster connection from the UK. We ran a virtual class with them with about 20 students. And then just normal MGTA classes, we ran 1 virtual and 6 on-site to about 87 students. So the total is basically 494, close to 500 for the summer. So.
Awesome. So great success. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right. So now we're at the end of the hour. We've got a few minutes left. Basically at this point, if folks, I know we've thrown out a lot of great information, and obviously if you're watching this later, you can always follow up by contacting us, reaching out to both myself or Riza or any of the folks that are on here. And if you don't know their information, we will contact you. But is there anything that people want to bring up that we may not have hit, or going on in your own individual world? Anything you want to talk about, Bob?
No, not from my side. I did have a question about the walk the plank technology. I wonder if that's being used for phobia training.
It could be.
Are you ready?
It could be. Right now, it's not being, but it definitely could be.
It seems
I
like
think Jacob, your mic is on.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Okay.
respond to that. Right now it's a very specialized product just for this one faculty that's in kinesiology, so she's really interested about the human body and how it works. But yeah, I agree, it could be used for some interesting things outside of that as well.
I don't know how you'd go about making that happen, but if you have anybody at Mason who's working in the field of phobias, that just the desensitization desensitization seems to be one of the most used ways to go
Yep.
after phobias, and it seems like that as an acrophobiac myself, that it absolutely jumped out at me as something that seems
Yeah.
potentially useful. That's
Well,
all.
they have some nice little features in it where like you're on the ground, and after you get used to walking the walkway back and forth, they have you sit down and then they lift you up, but they can specify the height and the speed. So, they can level you up, I guess, over time and stuff like that. It could be pretty interesting. I agree.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Awesome. Anything else? Other thoughts? Other things? Susan, yes.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you folks for the wonderful participation in the Jazz Brunch and especially Arts by George. And to let you know of the success of that event, we raised over $275,000, which was $25,000 over goal. And that's going to go to our students. So we're really appreciative of that. And for any of you folks that have a business or an individual, this is an opportunity next year for you to sponsor this event and help bring more support and visibility to your programs. And then finally, I want to say on this coming Friday at the Celebration of Distinction, we're going to be honoring Kyle Bishop from an alumnus from the computer game design. I think it's Little Arms Studio. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So he's going to be celebrated by the university as a distinguished alumni. And so we're very happy to have James and Sang there to celebrate him along with our dean, and he'll be recognized at that wonderful event. So thank you guys for your wonderful participation in all
Sure.
of the events that we put on.
Hey, I know this is not for anybody else there, but have they sent out the information that we'll need or the ticket information for us so that we can go
I
Friday?
think it's coming later this week. If you don't get it, let me know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I
know
just want to make sure I have it. So
Yeah, James, I think you should have received it. I got mine. So
okay, I'll double check.
Yeah,
I'll talk with
yeah.
Sang about it then.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anyways, anything else before we got a few minutes left, but great group, great folks. I know some people had to drop off because it was going to be close to time. Again, this is recorded, so we'll pass it along to other additional folks. And we appreciate everybody who watches it now or attends now and watches in the future. So thank you. And thank you everybody here that made this a great presentation and all the great work that went into the stuff we did. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.